I think there's still this stigma that men just don't feel confident enough to talk.
It's bravado. Bravado is one of the most toxic things that's ever happened to the human race, I believe. Every time you try something, it doesn't work out. Who gives a shit? You've tried it. You've been brave enough to try it. Knowledge is never failure. So you go forward now with that, build on it, do the next thing. Next thing might not work out. Who cares? Do you know what I mean? Just fucking do it. Basically, going back to your question, which I forgot what it is. What was your question? Was it about, what was it? Oh shit.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Jill Spills. This week we are going to be spilling the tea on mental health. This week I am joined by the very lovely Larry Meyler, who is a mental health advocate and author. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello. Mrs. Doubtfire. Hello. Hello. I'm all right. Yeah, how are you?
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Very
I'm
excited
to be here. I'm on a bit of a high. I've just come from a talk at a PR agency in London, so I'm all like,
still buzzing.
Still buzzing. Yeah. So I'm like, I hope I don't crash during this.
Suddenly fall asleep.
Sleep in the middle of the...
I'm like, Larry. No, thank you. I know you've literally come from the talk, so we're going to talk a bit about that after. Mental health advocate, as I just said, author. You've been given the lovely title, little nickname of the Artful Dodger of the book world. Is that correct?
Yeah. A couple of people have said that, so I take it as like it's endearing. I like it. Because I've always kind of seen myself as like an Artful Dodger character anyway, with my dad being like Fagin. That's what we were like growing up. Yeah.
Well, you've got your books. You've got a couple of your books here.
Yeah.
So we've got Being Brave, which was your first...
The OG.
The OG book. Your second book you haven't got today, but remind me of the title.
Second book is like a collaboration I did on the back of Being Brave, Doing Well. It got asked to be part of this book called The Book of Hope, which is like 101 people talking about like their mental health journeys. So you got people like Joe Wicks in there, Katie Holmes, Katie Piper, I believe, as well, and me in the middle of them all.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that's cool. So that was a really cool collaboration to do. I was really proud to be part of that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then that's my latest is the old Mindset
Handbook. So these are really interesting.
Yeah.
So we are going to start with why. What made you become an author? What is the background of writing these books?
Well, I think kind of the unlikely offer kind of tag and that kind of thing comes from basically, I mean, I was kicked out of school at 15, 0 academic qualifications. Looking back on that now that I've had an ADHD diagnosis, I now understand myself a lot better. I've had in the last year, my 44th year on this planet, I've probably learned the most about myself over all the years. So yeah, really? That's also helped being helped along with getting an OCD diagnosis and an ADHD diagnosis, which is more ADD really, but I don't think that's a thing anymore. So just taking the hyperactive bit out. Okay. So got kicked out of school. So it's something that I never put limits on what I can do, but I definitely, other people would have been like, yeah, he's not going to really be coming off or write books and stuff like that. But that spurs me on more to kind of do things, I suppose. So, yeah.
What made you do it? Like, what point in your life, what pinnacle point would you thought, I'm going to write it? I'm going to write about my journey?
Well, I basically, back in 2014, a series of things happened, kind of quite traumatic things. Like my dad passed away. My mum had already passed away when I was a kid at like 6 years old. So that's why I say me and my dad were like the Artful Dodger and Fagin, because he was always ducking and diving and, but he always kept me with him. And then he died in 2014. At the same time, an important relationship at the time in my life was quite a roller coaster. That broke down. Okay. Work was a nightmare, beyond stressful, hated it. I get to the office, and I was a picture editor at the time, so I worked in media, in showbiz news. So I get to the door of the office, turn around and go home, go back into bed. It was just dark, and I was depressed and drinking too much, binge drinking. But yeah, it was all kind of a combination at once, basically, that it was happening, and I just was decided I could either do something about this, get off this treadmill, stop it, just stop everything, or the alternative was I was probably going to top myself. Right. So you went pretty dark. Yeah, it was really dark. It was, and there was a stage there where I almost, I got to the point where I was going to do it as well, which was a really dark moment, and like something in me, visuals in my head of my friends, of the people who mean the most to me in the world, were there in my mindset, in my visualization, and it's just stopped me from doing it. And I'm really glad, obviously, it did.
Yeah.
So I just decided to stop and get out of London, give up my career, give up my tenancy, and just go. And decided to go around the world backpacking for
On your own, like,
on my own. Yeah, I did 8 months. I know also I was lucky to be in that position to be able to do that. You know, I'd saved up my own money. My dad had left me some money. Like, we grew up with nothing. It's in the book about like what I can write about it anyway. My dad went through a really traumatic time as a kid. He was sent to an industrial school in Ireland. So that was run by the Christian Brothers, priests of the Catholic Church. So yeah, you can imagine how that was.
Yeah.
It was basically a prison for little boys. They went in there, beaten every day. Worse stuff happened to a lot of them. Really dark, traumatic stuff. So anyway, my dad was there for 6 years. It was a self-sufficient kind of run place that they learned a trade in and stuff as well. It was just basically slave labor to keep this place running for the Christian Brothers, and they'd get money coming in from wherever, whatever donations they could get. And yeah, anyway, that's a whole other thing. But on the back of that, in his later years, my dad's Ireland had a massive tribunal kind of investigation into that time, into all the abuse by the Catholic Church, and the industrial schools were a big part of that. So my dad ended up getting a payout, more money than he'd ever had in his life, that he ever thought he would have, more money than we'd ever have. So like, you know, I just wanted him to furnish his flat nice, go on holidays to Benidorm, have fun with it, and you know, he'd buy me a laptop when I needed one and things like that. But you know, he was still him and I was me, and we still were like, you know, the way we were. But when he died, he left me a little bit as well. So that's why I put it together with my own few savings, and off I went. Yeah.
And
my little hanky and stick.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm talking like fucking Huckleberry Finn. But yeah.
So that when you were sent travelling, that's when. So did you then start processing everything that had gone on in your life?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So what was it like growing up? Like what you know? Did your dad talk a lot about his past, or as you got older, or was it sort of things you'd found out over the years?
It was a mix of the two, really. When he'd had a few drinks, he would talk about it a little bit, and he'd always say, "I'll tell you when you're older," but he wouldn't open up. He wasn't a very open person when it came to emotions, or when he'd have a few drinks, he'd cry easily and stuff like that, and like he used to break my heart, and it was hard with my dad. He loved me so much, and I loved him a lot as well. Very much, you know, that love was unbreakable there. But sometimes I know he'd look at me and he'd go, "Where the fuck did I get him from?" Because we were so different as well.
Yeah.
Especially as I was growing up, coming into my teenage years and 20s, when I moved to London when I was 17. There was just this big, massive communication barrier there. And it never really went away, to be honest with you. There was always an awkwardness with talking to each other.
Right.
It was hard. I longed for it to go away. I really wanted it to go away, but it was there until previous to him passing away. He had a stroke.
Okay.
So the 3 years before he died, his speech and comprehension were really impaired.
Right.
So that was almost like I had to mourn what I hoped would happen while he was still alive, and a relationship that I hoped would be while he was still alive, and then mourning when he died. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot, and growing up was a lot as well. It was chaotic, but it was just because he did the best he could do with what he knew.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
He made mistakes. He didn't do things in the right way a lot of the time. But he went on what he knew, you know. He didn't have my mum there anymore to try and guide him or be a mother to me.
Yeah.
You know, but luckily I had friends and relatives who did step into that role at times.
Right.
And especially my friends' mums, like to this day, they're still like mother figures to me, and
Really?
I love them to bits, and that'll never change. And I've always felt like the little orphan one being passed around and stuff. So that's always stuck with me, like this little kind of Artful Dodger character.
So with your mum passing, you were how old?
6.
Can you explain like the thoughts and feelings that you had with that loss? Because you're young, so you don't necessarily always understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Can you explain a bit more?
Yeah, I know now as an adult. That's definitely when my anxiety and OCD started. Was at 6 years old.
Really?
Which is a really, really heavy thing for a little boy to have to deal with, and it really manifested itself in really weird scary ways. Like if my dad used to take me around on a bike, I'd be on the front bar or the little saddle, whatever. People used to know us like that. And if we'd go past a sign, I would have to read every word on the sign. Or if I heard a song lyric, I couldn't sing the song lyric. One of them was like "Spirit in the Sky." Remember that song?
Yeah.
I always felt if I sang that song, something bad's going to happen. If I don't read that sign, something really bad's going to happen. Basically, that bad being someone's going to die.
Right, okay.
And someone's going to leave me. So like, rejection and abandonment issues started then as well. And all of this has kind of come to the forefront now in this part of my life. I'm understanding myself and all of this a lot better, which started when I just before I started writing Being Brave, when I went on my travels.
Right.
But yeah, it's been a long old journey, and it's been tough, but I'm not like, oh woe me about it and stuff. And I just try to now, I was very closed off at one point. I used to always be the one that my friends came to, and I'd be the strong one and give them advice and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that open. But then when I did start opening up, it was like floodgates opened, and it hasn't stopped since. I'm just shut up about it since.
But do you think that might have been the reason, because you were so scared that once you opened up, you just didn't know if you were going to be able to like reel it back in? Like it'd be easier just to block it off, never talk about it again, and just get on with your life.
Possibly, maybe. Like I don't really know. It just kind of happened, and I moved to London like when I was 17, and I was so lost. I was so determined, but also so lost at the same time. Like I was going around Soho, going to like, gay bars and stuff at like 17 years old, which I shouldn't have been doing. You know what I mean? It's not because I was a young boy, and like, but I had to grow up so fast that I was way matured than my age anyway. I had taken on a lot of responsibilities in my teenage years. I've took them off my dad. Like, taken control of the house, like the bills, the washing, the cooking, all of those things that once I was old enough to do, I did it because he struggled with it all, to be honest with you.
How did he deal with the loss of your mum? Like, did you see him change? Like,
he drank anyway, but he nosedived into booze.
Really?
And I remember it, like, he was just so broken and hurt, and he was left with this little boy, and like, it was just hard for him, and he wasn't capable of emotionally maneuvering around that situation, and he never got over it. He had girlfriends, we can call them now. There was a couple of nice women that came into his life, but they were never me mum.
How did you feel about that? Did that
I
affect
played on it. I was like,
Did
what's
you?
she going to give me? What room will I have? Where's my presents? Like,
Really?
No, but I was really rebellious to it. But in the same breath, when I got to know them a little, one in particular I can think of, I liked them. I liked her. There wasn't many. There was only a couple. So, yeah, I tried, to like them. But it was just, they weren't me mum. You know what I mean? And
Irreplaceable.
my friends' mums were more mother figures to me. And I had that. So, yeah.
So at what point then you thought, I'm going to leave, I'm going to go to London? Was it just to try and get a life of your own? Was it you had to try and move away from that kind of... did you want to put close the chapter on that and try and start fresh?
I always knew I'd go to London.
Was your mental health really starting to take effect at that point?
Well, in teenage years, I would guess I was dealing with, sexuality and stuff, which wasn't... It wasn't really a huge thing in my head at the time, because I was still like, getting off with girls and stuff. Like,
okay.
Snogging girls, or shifting, as we would say back home.
All right.
Shifting girls. Yeah. But I knew my focus was just to get to London.
Right.
Was to get out of school.
Yeah.
Get to London, be a dancer. That's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
I used to go to the U Club, and that was my saving grace every week with my friends. Go to the U Club, make up our dance routines, aim towards the end of the year show at the U Club. It was a passion I had. It was something I could focus on.
Yeah. It
was all I kind of felt I knew, was like things like that, like dressing my girl mates. It's all really gay stuff, but or what was perceived to be gay. But it was just stuff that I felt I was good at, and I didn't feel like I was good at anything academic and all the other things that I should have been doing, like football and things like that, so I just didn't have an interest in them. So the only things I had an interest in, I threw myself into.
Yeah.
And I used to go to my relatives in London and Essex every summer, especially in my teenage years, and I was like, I want to live here. I never wanted to go back. It would be really like traumatic for me to go back. to Wexford because I was going back to me dad, to that situation, to us arguing, to alcohol, just to feeling lost and stuff. And then, and there was nothing there for me. And don't get me wrong, I love my whole hometown. I'm super proud to be Irish and stuff. And I love going back there now. But when you're a teenager, you just want to get out of it, don't you? I just saw the bright lights, big city, and I wanted to go. I tried to leave when I was 16, but I had to go back.
Oh, really?
I went for I used to be an apprentice chef, and I this chef I worked with seemed to really like me, and he used to work in Claridge's and got me an interview. I went this 16 years old, fresh off the boat, went to Claridge's to like do this interview. And oh my god, I remember I walked in and I had an earring in my ear, like a gold hoop or something, like Brian Harvey.
Of course.
And
Brian Harvey.
And the chef went, "Get the fuck out of my kitchen and my office with that in your ear." And I was like, "Ah!" and like ran off and then went back in. But he did offer me a job actually, but there was no accommodation with it. And my aunt in Putney, my aunt Kathleen, was too like afraid to let me live with her because the backlash she might get from it or whatever, or I was too young or whatever.
Oh, what, like, or supporting you doing that?
Yeah. So I went back to Ireland, and then it was only another year before I moved, and I went to live with my cousin Michelle in Essex. Yeah.
And then that's when you stayed here.
Stayed here
until your passing of your dad.
No, I stayed until London. In London. I went traveling, so I went on my 8 months travels, and then I came back from the travels. So how I started writing was when I worked in media, I was just blag it. I was always blagging it. Like I got a job as a picture editor. I had no experience as a picture editor, bar 2 months at a work experience at a magazine, just learning how a picture desk worked. Could barely use Photoshop, and then I got this chance at the Sun Online to go and be a picture editor there. It was a trial kind of thing. But I was like, I've no, university degree. I've not even got a GCSE or the Irish equivalent. So I'm just going to have to use all my street smarts and skills to like blag this and get this job. And I got it. And then within a year and a half, I was like the showbiz picture editor. But that was all the picture side of things. But I worked with journalists and stuff as well. So, I basically, if I wanted to go to, for the first 2 years of working there, I was pissed. I used to go to the parties, every party, every week.
Really?
Yeah. Like, that's how I've met some of my best friends to today. But I would go out every night of the week. I always say I was like the Vanessa Phelps of the office. I'd go to the opening of an envelope. No offense, Vanessa. She's great. But like, every time I used to go out, we'd see Vanessa Phelps.
Oh, how funny.
There were certain celebrities you'd see out, and it was just really funny. But I would just be like, this could end at any minute. I'm just going to fucking run with it. And like, I'd bring mates with me to do these things, these parties, these events, these trips, and like, just roll with it.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to go to a concert, I would ask, could I write a review? So if I wanted to go see Rihanna, Justin Timberlake, whoever I liked, I'd be like, oh, can I go? I'll write a review. And then I actually found I really liked writing the reviews and they got received well. So it just kind of came out of that, really.
Right,
that was the first time I'd ever written anything. Went on the travels, wrote a travel blog, which I look back on now and cringe at.
Oh,
It was
really?
so badly written, in my opinion. But people seem to like it and resonate with it. And I had a book idea in the back of my mind.
So, what point? When were you thinking, I really want to write a book about my journey?
Yeah, well, I then had already started opening up and sharing things, just with friends and stuff. And then I was in Borneo. Tip of Borneo was the aim of where I wanted to go, right? I just thought I want to go somewhere really exotic that like sounds like it's so far away that like I would never thought I'd go there. So I thought, tip of Borneo, I'll go there. So that was my aim to get there. It was Paddy's Day and I was on the beach, staying in this little jungle hut, like a hobbit hut. And then went down to the beach, was feeling a bit lonely actually, was feeling like, even though I was in paradise, I was feeling a bit lonely, which is, a typical kind of mental health scenario. And it was Paddy's Day and I was missing my Irish friends and I thought, God, it'd be nice to have a pint with one of them or be back home or whatnot. Walked into this little beach bar. There's an Irish fella from Dublin sitting there with his girlfriend. She's from America. We got chatting and that one thing, this is why I love traveling so much and I say it's so important. Like, obviously you go to great places, you see things, great adventures. But for me, the best part of traveling is the people you meet because it can change your life.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got chatting. Catherine and Alan were their names. Catherine turned out to be a really successful self-published author. She writes like, young erotica kind of stories, but she's like super successful in it. And And I was telling her my story and just stories about life and stuff. And she was like, oh my God, you should write a book. And I was like, well, actually, I'd be thinking, funny story. And then we started traveling together a little bit. Hanging out and became the best of friends. And she ended up becoming my mentor for being brave. So that's kind of, she helped guide me through writing it. And she was a big support. And I'm so thankful for her. And to all my friends because when I came back from those travels, I was basically homeless and jobless.
Right.
So I sofa surfed for a year while I was writing the book, did sporadic work like labouring and bar work and stuff like that. And then, released it a year to the day that I started it. But it didn't take a year to write it.
And how hard or how easy did you find writing it?
Well, I'm quite a planner.
Okay.
Because I've got OCD as well.
Yeah.
So I'm quite planning. I'm always like usually the one in my groups of friends that is organising stuff and that. So, I also had Catherine to lean on. So I just kind of tried to, plan it out, get my arc going of where I was going to take it, where I was going to start it, end it. But that did change. But in terms of writing it, I can't type. So I was doing it all on either my laptop or usually an iPad.
Yeah.
So then I'm getting into the flow of it, and then I'm just typing everything like with two fingers, like fucking, Jessica Fletcher gone wrong. And then I'd look up and it had changed the whole paragraph because it was predictive, and I was like, oh God, I don't even know what I've written there. So it was quite an ordeal writing it in terms of actually writing it, but I found the flow of it fine. The imagination of it, once I got into it, it would just come. And then it all came together. I had a big agent involved, and that didn't work out. And then seeing what Catherine had done, I was like, I'm gonna self-publish this because I can have total control of it, being a bit of a control freak sometimes as well. My mates will be like, sometimes. But I just thought it was such a personal story, and I wanted the cover to be right, and I thought I'm just going to do it myself. And it worked out.
When you were writing it, I don't know if you think more about it now than sometimes you don't in the moment. Do you think when you were writing it, you've only just recently been diagnosed with OCD and ADHD. When you were back writing initially the first book or any of them, does any of it, did you notice it started triggering or even going working for the Sun? When you look back now, did any of those OCD or anything really come into play? Did you find it really affected you at times?
Yeah, actually what I've realised recently, especially in my current work environment as my other life as a barber, I'm actually reading a book, which reading is, I can read and I can get into the flow of reading, but I find it hard to concentrate. So focus is really hard. So my mind will wander into something completely mad, often just random thoughts, intrusive thoughts, and I'll be trying to read this book, and I'm then have to go back and read it again, and then I'm getting frustrated with myself, and I'm like, why am I like this? And that kind of school was the same. I couldn't concentrate, so I was disruptive. I was like the class clown. There was no malice behind it or anything, but I was just some of the teachers just didn't have there was no really ADHD then either. There was no talk of that. You were either just a disruptive student or you were a slow student. Yeah. So you'd be put in the class with the slow students, which I wasn't. I was in the top class. I don't know how I got into that, but I did. But the teachers just didn't, they only had so much time. These classes are for 35 people. Yeah. So I understood why I was outside of the door more than being in the class. Don't get me wrong, some of the teachers were just dickheads. And I think they got off on just being kind of demonic to kids. Whereas some of them did try, my English teacher, my French teacher, my business studies teacher, I remember, I was a lost cause when it came to it because I didn't want to be there.
Right.
So, but in terms of learning, I couldn't concentrate, couldn't focus. I can't learn things by being talked at. I find it really it just goes in one ear and out the other. And now that I've had that diagnosis, I'm understanding it better. I'm giving myself a bit of a break. And I said, I understand myself better now in this last year than I ever did, I think. And this book I'm reading, The Highly Sensitive Man, has been also a game changer because it's helping me understand that I'm super sensitive to my environment and also to certain things. And it kind of goes hand in hand with OCD. So in the barbershop I work in, I can't work with the other boys. It's too noisy, too chaotic, too loud. I can't hear what my clients are saying.
Yeah.
I work downstairs on my own. which sometimes makes me feel, my gremlins in my head say, oh, there's something wrong with you. Why can't you work with other people? Why can't you be around the other people? They're all up there having a laugh and you're like isolating yourself. You're a loser. Like it fucking spirals like quickly. You know what I mean? In my mind, when the intrusive thoughts come in. So it's hard to deal with it every day.
How you now, maybe it was more difficult when you were younger, but now you're having a better understanding of yourself.
Yeah.
How do you deal with those intrusive thoughts right now?
So basically, like, what I do these days, apart from writing books, I write social media posts quite often. Like, when I feel like I should write one. But it's all about sharing. Like, my books are about sharing. I'm not trying to be like, some Oxford, Cambridge scholar, because I'm not. Or Stephen Hawking or a therapist for people. Because I'm none of those things. I'm just myself sharing my story. And I think the sharing part of it seems to resonate with people. Because, like I say, I'm just like everybody else. And everybody else goes through this shit, but people don't have people in their lives sometimes to talk about it with, or because people are so busy, or people are closed off, or people are just not got the emotional stability to be able to express themselves. So I just, in my posts, I always try to make it I always try to make sure it comes across that I'm saying all this, but I'm not trying to be preachy with it. I'm doing it. I'm learning it as I go as well. I'm experiencing this as I go. This is something I've just had a light bulb moment with, and I'm going to share it with everybody to hopefully, if they're going through a similar thing, they can be like, oh shit, that's how I'm feeling, So that's why I do it, just to share and lighten the load for people, because the load wasn't lighting for me. Yeah, load wasn't lighting for me. Yeah, so I know how heavy it can be. So I just want to make sure if I can help someone else feel lighter in their life and not so alone. That's why I want to do it. Because I felt alone for a long, long time, since I was a little boy. And even though I haven't been alone and I've got the best friends, back home, my group of friends were for life, we've been friends since we were kids. Here in London, I've made the best group of friends. I've got friends dotted all over the place. And some relationships have come and gone, but that's all right as well. Sometimes we change directions and we're just on different paths, and there doesn't have to be any malice. And I'm learning that too, because anger as well is an issue when it comes to me, because I grew up around it, and I said to myself, I'll never be like that. I'll never let that seep into me so deeply that I can never get rid of it. So I did 12 weeks of therapy this year to address that, and it really did help join a lot of dots. So basically, going back to your question, which I forgot what it is. What was your question? Was it about, what was it? Oh shit.
How you deal with intrusive thoughts.
Oh yeah. So when it comes to intrusive thoughts, what I do now is what I've learned so much so in the last year is stop in the moment and basically address it. Look at it. Why are you thinking this? What is the emotional need behind that thought? What are you feeling? Are you feeling rejected? Are you feeling jealous? Are you feeling angry? Try and name the thought and the feeling behind it, and then dissect it a little bit. Because I feel, in my experience, the best way to deal with this stuff is to do it in the moment when you're feeling it, or when you're reacting, or when you're acting out, or when you're saying something you don't want to say. It's not a representation of who you are. We all do it. We all get angry, and we all say things we don't mean, or we can all feel sidelined or jealous, or I definitely do, and I hate those feelings coming in. But the thoughts you can't do anything about. They're going to come, but they're also going to go. So I keep reminding myself of that. It's up to me how much focus I put on them. So that's something I can control. I can't control the thoughts, but I can control the focus. So I focus on, why am I feeling angry in this moment? And because all the gremlins in my head, all the little fuckers in my head, they're all just waiting to pounce. Yeah. And they do, and they pounce and they get their claws in, and then they're dragging me down, and then I start spiraling. And it's a lot. It's a lot every day. I'd love to wake up feeling content and just calm and but it's hard. I don't feel like that when I wake up because my mind is flooded with thoughts. So I have to kind of navigate that and then try and cherry pick the ones that I know are going to be beneficial to me in the day and go with that. The rest, the noise, I have to just kind of steer the focus away from. And like I say, action it in the moment. Action things in the moment is how you try and make new neurological pathways, new habits by breaking old habits. It's the same, it's like the old cliches, you break habits to make habits. So that's what I'm trying to do. But I'm trying to do it specifically in little moments of each day, because like little steps lead to like big leaps.
Yeah.
I always say. So yeah.
Do you feel that you say you're getting up feeling content? Do you feel more content more days than not now? Now you've got more of a feel established of the diagnosis and how to deal with those situations.
Yeah. Well, previously to today, I was like, in the last few weeks, I was in like, I've said this to you already, I was in a bad mood. I was in a bad mood for like 3 weeks. I was like, what the fuck? Come on.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't seem to get myself out of it. And I'm diving into my toolbox, and I'm trying to like, you know, listen to myself, the things I said to other people, the experience that I had, but it wouldn't seem to shift. And I was like, right, there's something else going on here. What can I do? And I ended up actually going back to Ireland to see my Auntie Winnie, who is like a rock star, 92 years old, amazing outlook on life. She just always makes me feel happy, and I don't have to prove myself to her. I don't have to do anything, just being around her. Like, that helped me lift just, you know, a different perspective on life. Like I said, she's 92. We went walking around the lakes one day. We were walking for about 5K. There wasn't a bother on her. You know, she has her little spritzers when she wants them. She has a fry up when she wants it. She just says to me, look, Larry, I just get up every day and I just go again. Like, so basically saying reset, go again. So that's kind of what I take from it. And like, the best lesson I ever had in life is from Winnie as well. She just said, you don't ask, you don't get. And I haven't shut up asking since.
It's true though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true.
I think sometimes that comes with confidence. As you get older, you don't feel so afraid to ask for something.
Yeah.
Because I suppose leading into that nicely, going back to when you were younger, I think things are very different now with getting help and understanding people with mental health issues. And I would imagine back then when you were going through your real darkest times, you probably didn't feel that there was anyone that you could talk to.
No. I felt, when I was a kid, I felt just like I would never have said any of it. Like, the thoughts I used to have for a little boy were crazy, so dark and so heavy. And I'd be like, oh my God, if I tell anyone this, they're going to think I'm mad or I'm mental or I'm going to be taken away. Like, it was really a lot, like, so. But looking back on it now, it's just thoughts. We all have them. We all have intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
We all think mad stuff sometimes. Like, you know, I could be, I don't know, I won't delve into my ones. I'll never get the section. But like, yeah, like, you know, we all have them, and they don't mean anything half the time. This is the thing, they don't mean anything. They're just like fucking little boats sailing by. Let them sail by. Don't be like casting a net out to grab it in, or, you know, I don't know, you don't cast a net to grab a boat, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what does Larry do, as in, if you might be having a down day, or...
Which Larry? Which one are you talking to?
That's good, I like that. How do you de-stress? How do you occupy yourself? Do you go for a walk? Do you go for a run? I know you're into your fitness.
Yeah.
Do you think about... You can so tell.
I'm only joking.
Do you think about, what the next book I'm writing? Like...
Well, do you know what it is? It's so hard these days because of like, most people are on social media. I limit my social media mainly to Instagram, and that's mainly for my books and my sharing of stuff. But then I do go down rabbit holes with it as well. Like, I went on TikTok in lockdown. I was like, I gotta get off this. Yeah. This is obsessive. Like, I can't be having this in my life as well as Instagram.
It can be
so Facebook I just use now is for birthdays for people. Tell me whose birthday it is.
And they say they remind you.
Yeah, and my photo albums that are on there since like 2010 or whatever. But I don't know, there's just so much these days, and the reality of it is, I think you got to just take a little bit of inspiration from what resonates with you. I mean, you've got people telling you to get up at 4 a.m. and eat 20 eggs and go for a fucking ice bath. Then you've got people telling you need to sleep for 14 hours and meditate the minute you wake up. What are you meant to do? Do you know what I mean? So I just think, do what works for you, what resonates, all balance, all kind of, you know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's all right to have a drink if you want one, but just don't be binge drinking. I'm saying this to myself as well. That's something I still like, you know, working out. But, you know, just find a little balance that works for you. Sometimes I think you need to put the blinkers. I always say take the blinkers off when it comes to like self-awareness and life and looking at the bigger picture. But when it comes to social media, I think you got to put them on sometimes and drown out that noise, because comparison on there is toxic. Like, I always say, I try to say to people, take inspiration over comparison, because comparison on social media is super toxic, I believe. But if you can take inspiration from somebody, from a fitness person, go to the gym because what you've seen is inspiring, then that's brilliant. But just know that all of that is smoke and mirrors most of the time.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why I tried to be as real as I can on it as well. You know, obviously, you know, we all like good lighting and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I feel like Mariah Carey. I was sat here going, is this a good angle for me? Am I looking sweaty?
You're looking gorgeous.
Have I got a tit?
Do you think when social media really started blowing up in Instagram, did you notice that made a change shift in your mental health as well then at that point?
Not really. Like, it was great to see people sharing their mental health journeys on social media. I kind of looked at that kind of side of it, and I suppose took inspiration from that as well. Because I read things now that are super inspiring, and I will like bank it and be like, I'll go back and I'll read that again. I've got a folder on my phone like inspirational posts that I'll go back to I call it to reread, and I'll reread it just if I need a bit of perking up, or I'll reach out to friends. Like, I'll say like I'm feeling like this way, and then they'll say something to me that they know will help because they know me like inside and out. Like, so I think sometimes you need time on your own just to be quiet. Yeah. But then when your mind starts going and spiraling, I think that's the point where you need to kind of think, right, okay, I need to not do this, not sit here, get up and do something. I'll go to the gym, like you said, out for a walk. I like socializing with friends. Like, I love going around with mates for dinner. I don't know, maybe this does bring me back to being a little boy again, because I was just like, I always felt like that little Aphrodite going around with people for dinners, like Oliver Twist, please, sorry. Like, but, and now, you know, I look back on that now and it makes me smile, because that's how I was seen, and that's like, I still feel like that a little bit.
Yeah.
My girl mates especially, and my cousins will tell you that. When I go around, they're like, oh, God's sake, fill the fridge up. Here he is. Because I'm like, I just can't, you know, I'm like afraid I won't get another meal like that, or you know what I mean, or I won't get that comfort feeling of being around a family environment. I was always craving that. Like, I really, really did. I always wondered what it'd be like to have a brother or sister growing up, and I don't know. I just used to wish. Sometimes I just used to think it wasn't real. It was all a dream, and my mum would walk in one day, and
really?
I did. I used to think it was all a dream, and I would wake up from it, but it wasn't. But, you know, like I say, my dad was there. He stayed with me, and whether as the times when it was tough and I resented him and hated him, and, you know, he could be just the same to me, vice versa. You know, it could be quite explosive at times and stuff, in the things we'd say to each other and the environment. It would be, especially with drink involved. But he stuck with me, and I love him to pieces, and I always will. And I'll always be Tommy's boy.
Do you ever sit back and feel proud of yourself because of how far you've come? Because you've highlighted the fact that you went into a very dark place that you possibly, let's be real, you might not be here.
Yeah.
So do you ever sit back, and now the recent OCD, etc., do you sit back and think, do you know what, I'm proud, I've got my books.
Yeah.
I'm here, we're going to move on to shortly, but we started at the start of the podcast that you're now doing talks on mental health. You're a mental health advocate. Like, do you ever think that? Do you believe in yourself?
I mean, like, my determination is stellar. And I don't know why it's so stellar, but it's always been there. Like, my determination is just like, through all of it, that's what's got me to be sitting here with you today, because I've refused to accept the hand I was dealt. And that used to make me rebel against the alternatives, be it suicide, be it, you know, going into alcoholism, be it drugs, which whatever it might have been. I rebelled against that sucking me in too far. Because I was like, no, I'm not accepting this. I want to be the person to break this cycle. Like, that's why me and my cousin Michelle are so close. She's like my sister, because she, on her side of it, she's breaking the cycle. She's been through it a lot, dark stuff, and she's refusing to accept that. She wants to carve a life for herself that is happy and content, the same as I do. Am I there yet? No, it's still a work in progress, but that determination, that just fuels your bravery and your courage, and everybody has it. So I really say to everybody, you got to utilize your determination, even if you feel you don't have it, or you're afraid, or, you know, you feel it's so deeply buried in you. It's still there, little flicker, and you can ignite it. You just got to believe in yourself. But so to answer your question, I'm not one for, like, you know, being all like, oh, yay me. You know what I mean? I'm not. But sometimes I remind myself I got to be my own cheerleader as well. to do things like this. You know, I was nervous coming to this today. I was nervous doing the other thing today. But that's, you know, you got to use them nerves and utilize them to be fuel the determination to get through it and make it fun as well. That's also what I'm learning. Like, just try to make things more fun and not be so like shaking about it and like, you know, ready to piss your pants and I don't know, vomit in a corner.
Well, I think it goes back to, I've mentioned it a couple of times on the podcast. I know me and you spoke about it, that it's a case of, I think it's if people listening to this today or people listening to your talk earlier, or reading your book and it helps just one person, or hearing your story and your journey, and then you're saying that they feel they've got a determination but they're too scared, but actually there's nothing to be fearful of, you know, that's a success in itself, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like I said to the people earlier today, I was like, you know, about asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because the more you ask, the more you know. And I think it shows bravery and courage and assertiveness and proactiveness to be able to ask questions, to learn things, whether that be in your job, in life, in love, in, you know, a goal, trying to achieve a goal. Ask the questions. Don't think they're stupid questions, because they're never stupid. You know, and again, coming on to failure, like people are so afraid of it. Like I've taken that word, in this context of talking about it, I say it, but like I've taken that word out of my vocabulary. I just see it like, I take that out and I put knowledge in instead, because every time you try something, it doesn't work out. Who gives a shit? You've tried it. You've been brave enough to try it and you've learned. That's been an experience. You've taken something from it. You've got knowledge. Knowledge is never failure. So you go forward now with that, build on it, do the next thing. Next thing might not work out. Who cares? Do you know what I mean? Just fucking do it.
Yeah.
If you've got something burning inside you, a little passion, go for it. No matter how silly you think it is, or, you know, there's somebody out there doing it right now. There's somebody out there doing it and they're living their life doing it. So why not? Why can't you do it? Why can't I do it? So yeah, I will give myself, you know, kudos for doing certain things, but I have to remind myself sometimes, you know, I don't like sit there every day going, oh, you're so great.
No, of course.
Like I wasn't very good at taking compliments before. I used to get really embarrassed and like feel awkward, and I am quite an awkward person anyway. Like, and I own that now. I own that awkwardness. Do you know what I mean? And I use it as like, being highly sensitive. They're like parts of my personality that I embrace now, and I see as like good things and like little superpowers or whatever, you know?
Yeah, and have the confidence to just go with that emotion, I guess.
Yeah,
like
exactly. But it's taken time, like, to get here. But like I said, I didn't have anyone telling me any of this stuff, any of this shit. Like, so that's why I think me sharing it, and at my age, because like, you know, 44 is not old or anything, but...
No, it's not.
It's definitely not.
No, it's not.
It's not. I always say Jennifer Lopez is in her mid-50s.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I think sharing it, especially to fellas, you know, because fellas are hard to open up. There are like hard nuts to crack.
Yeah, I think let's be honest here. I think no matter your sexuality or anything like that as well, I think there's still this stigma that men just don't feel confident enough to talk. Yeah. There's still that stigma, again, I'll say, of you're a man.
It's bravado. Bravado is one of the most toxic things that's ever happened to the human race, I believe. It's always on the male side usually, and I get it. You know, if you're a cage fighter or you're a boxer and you got to go in the ring, you got to build it up, and I understand that. But when that's in your life on a daily basis and you're unable to talk to people, you're burying everything so deep in you that you end up killing yourself. What fucking good was bravado then? You're in the ground. You know what I mean? You're ash. You're nothing. You're gone. So drop the bravado. Let's open up. Let's be more sensitive. Let's try and talk to each other. Talk to your brother. Talk to your friend. Like, ask them questions. And so what if they get annoyed at you? They're getting annoyed at you because there's something wrong, usually. So ask again. And then they might not talk to you for a week, but you still keep prodding at them until they like open up to you. And like being a barber, I see it all the time. It's a heavy job being a barber sometimes. Yeah, I bet you have. But it's my favourite part of the job as well, because I'd rather these lads open up to me than go home. It affects their relationship, it affects their friendship, it affects them personally. And again, they end up taking the one way out that there's no coming back from. Because I've seen it happen. It's happened to me in my life many times with friends, family members. It's so unnecessary to go down that route just for the sake of opening up and being a bit emotional. I think it takes more balls to be emotional than it ever does to be keep everything inside.
I totally agree with that. I think you're more of you're a bigger person by talking.
Yeah, you're a lighter person. You're a more elevated person. You're a better version of yourself for the people around you. You've got more self-awareness, which is hugely important in life, to have the self-awareness to be able to like just evolve as a person. You need to have self-awareness, and you only get that from being more open and introspective and understanding yourself and dissecting things. But yeah, open up.
When you did your talk earlier, just going back, so you did a talk, you went to a PR company today and you did your talk on your mental health. And was it a good ratio mix of men and women? Did you find men were asking more, was it kind of even?
It was about half and half actually today. Really nice crowd, really lovely.
Yeah.
They opened up at the end, they asked questions, really good questions actually. And it was really good because that part of it is more, because I had a guy with me, Steve, who was kind of hosting it, so he was asking me questions anyway, so it was more interactive the whole way through, not scripted or anything, which I don't really do well with. I've done before and I'm like, I can't remember anything.
Will you do more talks? Are you kind of
for sure
trying to go down that avenue now and bring it more?
I've done some before. I'm always open to doing things, so as long as it it's beneficial to people, and my sharing my story can help people feel, like I said, lighter, less alone, then great, do it. You know what I mean? What else am I doing? What else would I be doing on Wednesday? In Aldi doing my shop.
I love an Aldi shop. Book. You're going to be writing another one. So you've got this one. You've got the
Book of Hope.
Which is a mixture of...
collaboration.
And then we've got the Mindset Handbook. Little nuggets for a mental evolution.
So this is 10 specific things, areas that I thought I've been working on. And I thought it had affected me in a good and a bad way. And I'm still working on. And actually, after writing this, sometimes it was like a little bit of a poison chalice. As much as I love it, and as much as the reach it's had around the world, and the messages I've had from people, just going back to what you said earlier as well, from all walks of life. Also, I put a pressure on myself after that came out to be fixed.
Okay.
I felt like, all right, you've shut up about it now. You've talked about it too much. Everyone's like, okay, everyone's thinking, right, well, you're fine now. You've got it all out. Just skip off into the sunset like I wrote in here with rainbows coming out my arse, which is not reality, like, because I'm still doing it. I'm still going through it every day, but in a different way, because I understand more now. I've joined more dots. I understand myself better.
Yeah. It's
still a challenge, but it's a lighter challenge than it was back then.
Right.
And even that when it was then, when I wrote that. So again, it's just sharing like little nuggets of things that I've understood. And yeah, if it resonates with people, then great. I even put note pages in the back of it so people can, if they see a nugget in there they like, they can scribble it down and go back to it.
Because
sometimes,
reactions.
I find it hard if you don't put a corner on a page to find something in a book again, and that might have resonated and you've lost it. So yeah, just kind of a little helpful handbook, I think. But yeah, I'm not writing another one at the minute.
Would you like to?
I don't know.
Like, would you
I
be
actually
now?
Don't know. And before, if you would ask me that, I'd be like, yeah, I am, or I'm gonna. But I don't know if I'll write another one. I might not. I'm happy just writing my mental health kind of sharing posts on my Instagram and stuff now at the moment, and that's where I'm at, and I'm content doing that. And yeah, that's enough for now.
And with your OCD, and I mean, how are you dealing with that now? Do you now why you're doing the things you're doing? You can work better with it.
Yeah, I can. Like I said, I struggled to pull myself out of that mood there for 2-3 weeks, but yeah, where I'm at is a much better place because I'm able to draw from so much experience now and from understanding, especially in the last year with the diagnoses and the therapy I've done. I can draw more from that, but then sometimes the reality of it is you can't shift it. It's going to take a few days, a week, 2 weeks. So just go easy on yourself, like, as well. There ain't no magic potion or magic stick to
write things down.
Write things down. Oh my God, writing things down is unbelievable. Like, people think, why am I not writing things down? But like, writing things down is one of the best things you can do.
Yeah.
Get it out of there onto a page, and you'll see how mental it sounds and how stupid it sounds. And you can just throw that away then, or keep it and go back to it. Do whatever you want to do, but just get it out of your head and write it down in whatever way you want to do it. You know, so I would definitely. That's something I always share with people: the importance of writing things down, even in your notes on your phone. You know? So yeah.
What path are you going to go down next? Where are you now wanting to go? Where is your journey going to start leading you to? Are you just still on this big adventure? Are you going travelling again?
It's all an adventure, isn't it? Like, I've just come back from travelling. Sorry, I've just come back from travelling.
Yes.
Went to Cambodia and Vietnam for 5 weeks. And again, it did what it always does. It's amazing. Travelling, like I said, the people you meet. I met some great people, some inspiring people. on this 5-week trip, and I came back with the clarity I wanted to get from it, and also some new friendships and some great experiences and understanding of myself. But more so than anything, just a reminder that we're all this little blip in time on a floating rock. And just don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself a fucking break. That's what I would say. Give yourself a break, and remember, you're not the most important thing in that your head tells you you are. You know, you're in your head all the time. You're thinking that little world in there is all that matters. It doesn't. There's a hell of a lot more going on. And just lighten the load, and we can laugh as well. You know, just laugh with your friends, laugh with your family. If you haven't got any friends, find some friends. There's ways of finding friends. Don't sit there on your own and let this seething bitterness and contempt for the world and anxiety and depression, don't let it consume you and drag you down and drown you, because it can be different. You just gotta, like I said, ignite that little determination, that spark of determination in yourself, and pull yourself up and know that you're worth it. You're worth the effort in yourself. Be your own cheerleader. Like, even if you feel stupid, stand in that mirror every day and smile and just say, today is going to be a good day. You know what I mean? Just say it. Do something positive. Action it, because you can say these things till the cows come home, but if you're not actioning anything, then nothing's going to change.
Well, I think goes nicely into you going back to saying with the, go out, if you don't feel you've got anyone to talk to or and find, then that helps lead into go and find like a mental health advocate or a workshop, and go and be with people in those similar situations, I guess. And then you can build friendships from there, because then I don't know if normal's the right word, but you feel that you're not this weird person trying to battle it on your own.
Find your tribe. Find your tribe. Like, if you're a Dungeons and Dragons nerd, if you're into fitness, do you know what I mean? If you're into tennis, if you're into painting, whatever it is, there'll be other people out there that love the same thing. Yeah. Find your tribe with it. Go and join them. They'll happily open their arms to you, I'm sure, and embrace you. And that can be a start of then you pulling yourself out of like a dark place. And then you can also go down the mental health route of therapies. There's so many groups out there, so many organizations that want to help for all age groups. So, the help is there, but you have to help yourself as well. And sometimes as brutal as that sounds, you have to help yourself. Yeah. Because you're the one that's controlling yourself. You're the one that's controlling your actions. Yes, you're not controlling your mind at half the time, or your thoughts, or the darkness that's there, but you can control your actions. You can pull yourself up off the sofa, out of the bed, and do something, and the more you do it, the lighter it becomes, the more light you're letting in, so that's what I believe anyway, and that's what I do. Because there's days I want to just stay in the bed all day, or I don't want to go to the gym, or I do revert back to being a little boy who feels lost and has no mum, or who whose dad is in so much pain, and wanting to have things other people have, and but that's not I don't let it happen. It might for a moment, but I pull myself back out of it, because otherwise what's the alternative? I'm going to sink into that for days on end, and it's just not.
So I just want to go back and touch on just a little bit. I know you mentioned when you were 17 you came to London and you started hitting the gay scene. So regarding your sexuality, at what age did you realise your sexuality, and what effect with your mental health did that have?
Well, I'd say I knew there was always something there from maybe 5, 6, 7, super young, but I didn't know what it was. Like, I didn't know what gay was or anything like that. Like, there was nothing like that around me. I didn't see anything like that on television. There was just nothing. And then as I started getting older and in things like fashion and dancing and things like that, and seeing, watching Top of the Pops and getting into pop stars and movies and stuff, but then you'd kind of get more of an inkling of what it might have been. But I've never really been one for labels at all. I only say I'm gay for ease of conversation. I just feel like I'm just me. And in terms of writing Being Brave, I didn't mention sexuality in particular or a chapter about it, because I just wanted it to be a human story. But with sexuality in general, I think it's a lot of guys in the barbershop as well, most of my clients are straight. But I like to kind of talk about it a bit with them. I'm not no poster boy for gay rights or, anything like that. But my interpretation of it is, I'm proud to be who I am, super proud to be who I am. Would life have been easier if I was straight? Probably. But then I wouldn't be who I am. Yeah. So I never would wish to be something else that I'm not. But in terms of just life and sexuality, the way I look at it is we're all born. We all have to deal with life, like childhood, going into teenage years, adolescence, puberty, navigating life, navigating what your passions are, what you want to do with yourself, friendships, relationships. So that's all of us as human beings. On top of that, add this big, fat, heavy layer of what being gay, bi, trans, non-binary, whatever you want to call it, that's what's on top, added on top of your life. You have to hope, like the whole coming out, when that's not even a phrase anymore, then, you know, there'll be true equality in the world. But for me, it's like you have to then hope that all the people around you that you've built relationships with, friendships with, colleagues at work, accept you. You have to hope they accept you. And that's a horrible thing to have to deal with in life, you know? I'm just like everybody. You get to this point where you just think you're like everybody else. And then all of a sudden, oh, well, I have to tell them this. Will they reject me? Will they understand me? Will they like be different towards me? Will I get hatred? Will I, you know, people see me differently? Will I be different? So it's this big old fat layer on top of just what everybody else has to deal with. That's how I see, you know, this whole coming out thing and having to explain yourself to people. It's just kind of like unnecessary. And hopefully as time goes on and the generations, you know, it filters down through them to be nicer, kinder people. When all the old bigots from now and politics and around the world are dead. Hopefully it's going to take a lot more generations, I think, but hopefully it will start to trickle down and, you know, it'll be something that'll be of the past. But, you know, I'm super proud of what people before me have gone through, people, trailblazers, what they went through, and now as well, especially in the trans community. Like, honest to God, what those people have to deal with is beyond, like, you've got like being gay, being lesbian, being whatever, being bisexual, but then there's a whole nother level for trans people. And like, I really like admire them. And yeah, I just hope that people can just learn to let live a little bit and be a bit kinder to people. Like, mind your own business as well.
What did you say? Everyone
do what you like.
Everyone's human. You're still
let people, if they want to go, let them do what they want to do. Stop worrying about what other people are doing all the time, and worry about yourself. You know, like I say, as long as someone's not interfering in your life and being, you know, I'm going to say, like, I'm not going to say the C word, but there's the C word in every walk of life. Every walk of life. To me, you're either a good person or you're not.
Yeah.
That's how I judge people. I don't even judge them on it, but that's how I see people. You're a good person or you're not a good person. And even them, there's a good person in there somewhere most of the time. You know, so let's just like let each other live, you know, let each other be.
How proud do you think your mum will be seeing that you've written these books, regardless of what the story behind it, the fact that...
Joan, I think she'd be super proud. Yeah. I know my ma loved me. Like, I know how much she loved me. People still tell me. People still come up to me and tell me what a little bastard I was as well, which I find really weird. I'm like, who are you?
Me?
I know I was. Like, I was a little fucker. Like, but no, I know she would always champion me in anything I do. Like, and I know like her spirit is with me and stuff. And
does that sometimes give you a bit of the determination that you've got inside you as well?
Yeah, like, you know, there'd be times like where I'm not a religious person anymore. I was brought up Catholic, but I totally don't. I respect the people who find stuff in religion, and I respect people who have faith, and I think it's great. I wish organised religion wasn't the way it was and, you know, excluding of very many people. I wish it was just have faith and just everybody, you know, respect everybody for what they are, who they are, how they live, as long as they're not hurting anybody, you know, that old saying and stuff. But like, yeah, like I do feel spiritual in a way, and I do know that there's got to be a bit more than just us and this. And why do we feel the way we feel? Why do we feel love? Why do we feel such passion in things and anger in things? I don't know. Is it just chemicals? It can't just be. I think there's more to it, but none of us know really, do we? But yeah, I feel like my mum's around me. Even sometimes I do go into a Catholic church because it feels a little bit, I don't know, it takes me back, I suppose.
Right,
and
maybe.
It feels peaceful and it's ornate, and there's a candle, and I light a candle for my mum and dad and all the others, and I'll say a little prayer. But who am I saying it to? I don't know. I'm saying it to whatever's out there.
Someone's listening.
Yeah, someone's listening to us. There's got to be, huh?
Well, as I say, I'm sure, yeah. Mum and Dad, I'm sure, are very proud. So you've got, if people love listening to this episode, want to find more about you and your story, it's Being Brave.
Yep, Being Brave, the Mindset Handbook, the Book of Hope as well. They're all on my Amazon page, so they're all on Amazon.
Perfect.
My Instagram is sailors_son. What's her name? What was her name? Price is Right. Not Cara Vorderman.
Oh no, what was that? The Price is Right. Yeah. What's her name?
What was her name?
These
anyway,
so,
she's a showgirl. We're my books, yeah, on Amazon, and like I said, my Instagram is Sailor's Son, Sailors_son.
Perfect.
Because my dad was a sailor.
Oh, do you know what? Thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you.
I know
I've
you've
enjoyed
busy day.
it.
You've done your chat, and
I feel like I haven't let you in have a word, Aidan.
no,
Been
I've
yapping at you.
I've loved every minute of it. Probably makes a change. I'm not getting a word in. Honestly, thank you so much. That was like really open and honest,
worries,
and
hon.
I really hope that someone out there is thinking, yeah, I'm feeling those feelings, and actually I want to have a little look at these books. I
Yeah.
want to.
And you too, by doing this, by putting this podcast out there, getting all the people on you're getting on, like it's really like gaining momentum, and it's brilliant hearing all good things about it. And I'm privileged to be on a guest on here with you. I really am, and you're a lovely person. You've got a great heart, and yeah, I'm
Thank you.
happy to know you.
Oh, me too. Well, good luck with everything.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
sure I'll see you soon,
Yeah.
and speak to you soon.
Cool. Thanks everyone for listening as well.
Thank you.
Bye.